Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Vietnam. Can everyone hear me? If you can hear me, can you raise your hand in so we can? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Francisca. Thank you, Flo. Yes. And firstly, I would like to thank you so much for taking your time to join into the webinar today. And monthly, we will have the monthly update about the news in Vietnam. As you can see that on the video that I have sent you is the most updated one that the government in each country, the tourism board, they're starting to do some promotion about the country. And as you may know, in our Southeast Asia countries, some countries already starting to promote. And firstly, for the domestic market is the domestic traveler is starting traveling in the country. And now some country like Vietnam, Cambodia, and some other countries are having the plan to open the country in the upcoming month. So I think this is the right time for us to restart on the business in travel that we can promote our destination to your traveler. So today I would like to share my screen first. Okay. So today I will have the continuing the monthly update about the Southeast Asia travel in February 2022, and I will give you some more information about how is the progress of opening the country in our countries, and so you can have some ideas to input to your target market in the upcoming time. For the content today, I will firstly have some update news and regulation in Southeast Asia in February in 2022, and some first report for the first 2 months in 2022 in some countries that already open for the inbound traveler, and some news about Meta Voyage team. So firstly, I want to have some sum up about the travel restriction update in Southeast Asia. The first one I want to inform that you already seen the very beautiful clips about Cambodia. Cambodia is the first country in Southeast Asia has claimed that they already fully open for the traveler, and the Ministry of Tourism has sent some very positive forecast to see the uptrend in international tourists from mid-2022. And the number of weekly international flights in Cambodia is already increased by 20% from November until end of January, reached 320 flights per month in Cambodia. And the lockdown status or the inbound travel or outbound travel is totally open in Cambodia. Second country is about Indonesia. So for the Indonesia, there are also some good news in Indonesia that the quarantine for boost in international traveler reduced to 3 days only. Like last month, I already informed you that the quarantine time in Indonesia is for 5 days, but now they reduced to 3 days. And they have some program for the sandbox programs in Bali or in some areas that you can promote to your traveler. And they have the plan to remove the quarantine altogether by 1st of April. So they want to speed up the progress of the opening the country in the upcoming time. And for the travel status this time, the lockdown status is some partial inbound travel, partial and outbound travel is totally open. As you can see that in here, even that about the coronavirus case in Indonesia is rising, but because that the fully vaccinated population in the country is nearly 80% of the population, so that's why like the death or the severe case is going down in Indonesia. Even that the daily number new case is rising. The third country I want to mention about is about Laos. So the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism instruct to promote Lao, Thieu Lao campaign more widely. And they are at the moment certainly they are still locked. They still not open for the international country, but they start promoting the first about the domestic frequencies about the flight inside Laos and some railway and Lao Airlines. So this is the very positive news that in Laos that they start with the domestic market first, and when everything is under control, they will start step by step to open the country to the international traveler. And they also have the plan for the vaccination for the 6 to 11 years old lunch. The countries that I mentioned about is about Malaysia. So the Malaysia is the health minister estimates that Malaysia could reopen by early Q2 of 2022 and developing the recommendation. At the moment, they still have the sandbox program in Langkawi, so the clients still can travel to the Langkawi like I have report in the previous program. And the next country is Myanmar. Myanmar is one of the country that's still totally closed for the international border. So we for this country, I think that we can set the time until the later time to promote this country in the upcoming time. And the next country that I want to mention about is about the Philippines. So for the Philippines, that they have the very first report in the country that they have 676 foreign travelers already enter the Philippines from 10 to 15 February. So that is a very good, the very good signal for this country to reopen the country to the international traveler. And the next one is about the Singapore. So as you may know, for the last time, for the in January, they already stopped the VTL, the Vaccinate Travel Lane program, in the concern of the the Omicron variant outbreak that has expanded in the country. But now they already restore again this program in the country, because that they can see that is Omicron is not really affecting to the population in the country. And also that they have the 5 new countries that already list in the vaccinate travel lane in their upcoming time. And the border measure is simplified in measure overhaul of rule. The next country that I want to mention about is about Thailand. Thailand is the same. Before January, they opened the program Test and Go. And also, but in January, because of the Omicron variant coming, so they have delayed that program. But from the first of February, they start to process again about the Test and Go scheme in the country. So this time, the inbound travel is already open. The outbound travel also open in the country, and they start receiving the very first group of the international traveler coming into Thailand. And at this time, they had the program of the Test and Go. The second one is the Sandbox program that go into some island like the Koh Samui or like the in the south of Thailand. And the next one is about our country, Vietnam. So Vietnam is, you can see that for the recent week, the Vietnam is like the news is everywhere in that we are, because that's our government is already agree about the program to fully reopen international tourists from the 15th of March. Is already accepted by the different ministry in Vietnam, and we are now building up the plan to be finalized. And in the upcoming days, the finalized program will be sent out officially in media. So this is a very good news in Vietnam. So we already have the faster progress to open the country. And to go in details, so the first one I want to mention is about Thailand. So they already restart is the test and go program and allow vaccinated international travelers from all countries to enter without lengthy quarantine restriction. So some holders of the US, Canada, UK, and Australia passport are among those are not required to obtain a visa when entering Thailand for tourism purpose and will be permitted to stay in Thailand for a period of not exceeding 45 days on each visit. And certainly that from the first day and from the fifth day, they still have the two tests to make sure that they are not have the positive in COVID-19, and they have to show about the booking to stay in the defined hotels in Thailand during the first days when they arrive. And the tourists from our country that not on the visa exemption list can apply for the special tourist visa STV, which allow for 19 days stays and can be renewed twice. The details of the progress and the regulation that we can, if you need more information about the regulation and how to process the visa to Thailand, you can contact to our Meta teams so we can send you in details about the guideline and the regulation. And the test and go scheme is resumed from the 1st of February to 2022. So this is some guideline about how before the arrival, during the stay and arrival, and when leaving, what is the process that you need to do when you arrive to Thailand this time. The second country that I want to mention about is Singapore. This is the second hub of the mainly a lot of the different international flights coming to Southeast Asia. So Singapore is now extend the vaccinated travel lane with 7 more destinations. So the vaccinated travelers will be able to fly into Singapore from Hong Kong, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates without quarantine from 25th February. And starting from 22nd February, Singapore start relaxing measure, make it easier to visit via the vaccinated travel lane VTL scheme. And the traveler no longer need to take a PCR test on arrival and instead can take a rapid antigen test within 24 hours of arrival. And they will no longer require a rapid antigen test on day 2 and day 7 anymore. And while the departure test will still be required, it can be either a PCR test or a rapid antigen test. And administered professionally, it means that it's more flexible for the client, to the traveler to have the different type of tests. And the traveler are eligible to enter Singapore after only 7 days in a VTL country rather than 14 days previously. So this is some details about how they have the different treatment with the different country in this area. And the Cambodia. So as I informed you, Cambodia is fully opening, but as a report recently, they still have the low international arrival due to different barriers. So as you may know that Cambodia still don't have the mainly direct international flight to Cambodia, but still have to connect to other countries. So that's why the expense to coming to Cambodia still be very high. So that's why most of the travelers still be concerned about the traveling to enter Cambodia. But the most recent report for the first 2 months, the number of the arrival to Cambodia is only total 25,276 tourists. Only 12% in compared with 2020. So that's why the Cambodia government has laid out many tourism development policies and roadmap to establish the kingdom as a safe place for sightseers, and they expect that Cambodia still will be recover for this 2022. And this one is the good news about Vietnam. So for the Vietnam, the government already approved to recover all international flights in 15 February, and the 5 different ministry in Vietnam is already agreed to fully reopen the international tourism from March 15. So this is the very first report that the international traveler coming to Vietnam in January 2022. As you may see that there is still for the very first month that we apply the non quarantine program. The number of the international traveler coming to Vietnam already increasing with the 17,000 for 1 month. And they have the different the destination, like in Asia is about 13,847. From European country is 400 and 4,337, and from American is 1,226, and from Australian is the 237, and from African is 80. So the government has agreed to reopen Vietnam for international tourism, and the detailed reopening plan is expected to be released soon by the relevant government authorities. On this day, all of the company in Vietnam and all of the tourism stakeholder in Vietnam is waiting day by day about the news in our country. So we can send you in the detail more after this webinar. And Vietnam is lifted the restriction on the frequency of regular international flight from February 15. So now that we have the daily flight from Vietnam to Japan, to Korea, to Bangkok, and to some target countries like in Frankfurt in Germany, and also to San Francisco in USA. So there are more and more international flight is going to be scheduled in the upcoming time. Yes, and for the first month in 2022, Vietnam already welcomed nearly 20,000 international tourists. The next one I want to mention about is Indonesia. Like I had mentioned about Indonesia is lifting all the quarantine requirement in April. So they are considering lifting all the quarantine requirement for the inbound traveler in April, as the COVID-19 hospitalization and fatality rate remain under control despite a resurgence in case. And in meantime, they require quarantine periods. Also they have the very easing progress that they reduce quarantine days from 5 days to 3 days only for the incoming traveler who have received a third dose vaccine starting next week. The next country that I want to mention is about Laos. So Laos is they still continue with the program of the Lao Travel Green Zone Plan. However, as because the Laos is similar to Cambodia, that they don't have the direct international flight, and they still all of the international travelers still have to take the flight that connect from the different country, like from Thailand or Vietnam or Cambodia, from Singapore or like in Hong Kong. So that's why the expense to coming to Laos is still be very high. So that's why there still be a concern about traveling to this country. And at the moment, they still applying the travel green zone, including 5 provinces: is Udomsai, Sayaburi, Siêng Khoang, Khamon, and Champasak.